Let's go. There's a lot of work still to do here. Everything that's purple bricks needs to be not purple bricks, but purple squares. Welcome to this stream. This is very ill prepared. We're gonna be doing things. I'm not entirely sure what things, but things nonetheless. So, there's a couple of things that we're going to focus on that I talked about in the last stream. And one of those things will be setting up something for this hallway. I don't think that this hallway needs to have like particularly much going on. I think there is something to be said to just keep this kind of on the down low, a little bit of a momentary reprieve from everything happening in the rest of the dungeon, and literally just be a place to choose the navigation of which direction you're going to go in. We already had a sort of similar thing here at the very start, but here we actually have that in the shape of something that resembles a normal level in some way, with some enemies and some like quote-unquote obstacles. It's fairly limited as far as obstacles go, obviously. So I think in contrast, if you go through either one of these directions, both of them are totally valid, and you end up in here having to make the same decision for going left or going right, but not having that decision be informed by anything to do with any gameplay relevance, makes the decision itself more front and center. It makes it more important to make a decision about that if it is the main thing that you're considering in this case. I think there is something to be said for that. I don't know if that is enough to just keep it being as boring as it is right now. It might be. It might not be. There is definitely something that we can do here to make this feel a little bit more involved. As in, we can probably make this a staircase down in either direction or something like that, right? So if we just come in here, we have a little bit of a just a normal bit to walk. Then we have a staircase down. Then we have an area to stand on again, and staircases down in both of the other directions as well. That makes it visually more interesting without actually changing what is happening here to begin with. So I think we'll probably do something like that. And then it also has the idea that we've just been in here. And this has been kind of like, oh, spooky, we're in the catacombs. But if we have two staircases going down in either direction here, we have the feeling that we're going a little bit more down toward like something that might be important, which is the tome of the boss fight. We're going toward the boss fight is what we're doing. With that said, though, now that I'm explaining that all out loud, and this is why I like doing a lot of level design on stream, because while I'm explaining things, I'm also like rationalizing things for myself and seeing, hey, does this make sense or does this not make sense? So maybe what we should do is this area here, this should be a staircase down, but then this is the path that eventually leads to the boss fights, and then here we can do something similar again. A staircase down and a staircase down, but then this like lag over here, you should be able to hear. Yeah, no, you should be able to. I think. Let me check. Like, of course, if you can't hear anything, you can't hear me say this. But let me check. It is giving me audio outputs, but I don't have the stream open right now, so let me check. Yeah, no, it definitely has audio. So yeah, if we have a staircase going down here, it implies that this map as a whole is going down into the depths a little bit more. And then this is going down even more, but this won't go down. This will just stay on level. And that then leads into, I think, the platforming level, and like back here, just a bunch of enemies to like murder, honestly. And we'll kind of do the same thing here, right? So we'll have this staircase going down, and then we'll have a staircase going down to this direction as well, which means that a lot of this is going to end up a lot lower than it is right now. But I kind of like that idea, so let's go with that. Let's go with that. This should be level 170 hallway, so let's get started with all that. So we do need to have a little bit of a run up before we go down the stairs, because obviously you don't want to spawn in on a staircase. That's a little weird. Block out tools, let's just copy over the transform from this block out box. There we go. Snap it down, 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 down. Maybe one more. It's a little too much, isn't it? And honestly, we can just kind of remove everything to it here. We'll replace a lot of this stuff in a moment. None of this is going to stick around. And frankly, we can just move this down. Okay. Let's see. So this can be, let's see, maybe make it 600 by 600. Is that gonna be too small? Because that will be a nice and like even square if we do that. Which might be nice, because we can just make this. Oh yeah, no, we definitely want this to be a little bit more like that, right? Yeah, I think we do. Don't crash. Please don't crash. I can see. There we go. It's gonna see. I can see the lighting moving here. Speaking of lighting, we probably want to just for the blockout purposes set this all back to medium. Because there's no real use in having this all be high quality lighting at the moment. So that would make this 800 instead, which would make that like, I like the idea that the opening little square that you spawn in on is a square. I don't know why I'm dying on this hill. Anyway, welcome everybody. From Thailand, and sounding good, loud and clear, so good to hear that my audio is all good, like I thought it was. And we can just have a lot of fun building this level, hopefully. Maybe not, we'll see. Maybe it'll be infuriating, but I think this part is going to be pretty easy, because we don't actually have to do any level design. This is more what I like to call world design, right? There's like some like subtle storytelling, world building stuff happening here, but not actually like any level design, which is to say there's nothing actually like interacting with you on a gameplay level. This is just a place that exists. So as far as like blocking it out goes, that's remarkably easy. Let's see, this is pretty good, I would say. So once we have that in place, we can then put down a linear staircase. Let's just copy the transform from this over to that. And then we can just rotate it around. And then the question becomes, it's actually kind of annoying that this works like this. Then the question becomes, how many steps down do we want to go for this? So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 1,000 units down. Of course, with a couple more steps, Let's make that like 50 steps or something instead. Will that be enough to feel impactful? It might. I don't know. Let's figure it out. These doors are already connected up, right? Yeah, they are. Okay. So I can easily test going through this and seeing what it feels like in game. And we can just no, actually I'm going to probably ramp this down with the staircase. So what we do is we put down a ramp here. Copy the transform over. No, not there. Paste it in. How's everybody been doing? Any fun news on anybody's projects? That kind of stuff. Always fun to talk about. I do still have, well, I already have a lot of submissions, but I always do like receiving more submissions for the I Will Play Your Games video that I'm going to be making. I already have like 20 submissions or something like that, but again, there's never too many. This probably should be one lower down, eh? So it connects up properly. Yeah, there we go. That's a fantastic question. So this thing is 1100 Sol. So I'm guessing we want this to be 1100 as well. Getting gas and incorporated into a third-person game. Nice. I like gameplay abilities very, very much. And I am so happy that the video series that I made seems to be landing very well with a lot of people. Because that means that I made it for a good reason. I made it mostly because I was annoyed at the lack of actual documentation on it, of course. But I actually looked at the new documentation pages on the Unreal like developer community pages. Actually, this one doesn't need that. And it seems like the gameplay ability system has gotten some like actual documentation now. So there's good improvement there. I haven't actually read through them, so I don't know if they're very in-depth. But at least there is some sort of official documentation for these now. Which is better than what it was, because what it used to be was like from official sources, like one live stream, and some unfinished pages. Then again, the pages they have right now, I don't know if they are finished. Because I haven't actually read them yet. But I have high hopes. Let's make this a separate thing. Just for ease of making this like hallway. Like this, doesn't this just look more interesting as a shape than just a T shape? That's probably a good thing, right? Nothing actually more is happening here. But it feels like it is. Which is kind of the point. I think this is the height that we want this at. So we just copy this one over. Okay. We can just do it like this, I suppose. You know what's funny? Is because we're using literal blockout tools, I'm like, oh, but I should light up the tops of these things so no creepers can spawn on them. I'm not playing Minecraft, okay? But my brain, when I work like this with blocks, immediately goes to Minecraft. which I don't know what that says about me. Honestly, we probably don't need this one there. It's probably a little, like, unnecessary to have 2 blocks there. Probably fine to just do this. But hey, maybe we should light up the tops of these buildings so creepers don't spawn. You never know. Maybe like I built the game, I put it up on Steam, I'll get a little bug report that people got killed by creepers, and I'll be like, what the fuck? What do you mean creepers? And then turns out I should have taken care of that. Also, let's make all this. Does that need? Does this need to be one lower then still? Yes, it does. Yeah, I have tried using Cube Grid, which is nice, but this just kind of does what Cube Grid does for the most part. And it is faster and not as limited to only using cubes. But Cube Grid actually does produce halfway usable like geometry and UVs, so in that regard it is a little bit better and nicer to work with. But like this is just so much faster to just put down a wall like this instead of going around with Cube Grid, in my opinion. Yeah, not to say that Cube Grid is bad, because it's not. Cube Grid is amazing. Oh, this should go over here. Yeah, Cube Grid just puts out a static mesh. That said, these actors, you can just merge them together and it also creates a static mesh. So there is one more step to that process to do that, which is like potentially annoying depending on who you ask. There definitely is benefits to using Cube Grid. I'll be the first to admit that. Yeah, so I'm going to like not actually do it here because I want to keep these things like non-destructive. But if I just select a bunch of them or all of them together here, you get the point. I'm not going to go through all of them. And I go open to actor. I can merge actors, and if I can merge, go into merge, I can even go into the merge settings, and I can replace the source actor, so it'll remove all of the cube grid or the not cube grid, all the block out actors, and just place a static mesh actor in the exact same position for them, and then everything that I selected gets baked down into one static mesh. So it won't even be like, I think I have like 7 of them selected right now, something like that. It won't be 7 separate static meshes. It's going to be one static mesh asset. Of course, the geometry will still be disconnected, so like there's still 7 separate objects within that static mesh. If you like import into something like Blender or something, it's not like they're going to merge connecting vertices or anything. But then once you make this into a static mesh, you can then export it, add it into Blender, and even if you wanted to like re-import it after that, and it'll be updated. So it's it's an extra step in the process, and especially if you've got like a bunch of places to do that, like I have right here, like 1 or 2 extra clicks adds up, right? Over the course of an entire game, you're going to be doing hundreds to maybe thousands of extra clicks compared to just being able to make a mesh and import and export that into your art program. So, not a perfect solution, but the amount of time that it saves me in other places probably makes up for that, to be honest. Yeah, if you're already using a plugin like this and you're just rebuilding it with KubeGrid in order to make it, oh, what the fuck did I do? And you're just, oh, that's what, okay. Uh, and you're using KubeGrid specifically to like make them exportable, you probably should just merge them. To be honest, I didn't know that merge actors was a thing until I started doing like research as to what my level design workflow should look like, and I landed on the thing that I'm doing right now. It's not a feature that I like ever really like used before, or frankly a feature that I ever really considered needing before, because it does literally just combine things into a static mesh. Like, when is that actually useful? Well, for this, but aside from that, I don't see it as being like too useful most of the time. This is gonna bother me, so let's just move it up. Let's move both of these down. Something I figured out with KubeGrid, copies are actually linked. Yeah, that's because you can change that, but that is because there are separate static mesh actors that just reference the same static mesh assets. Oh, this should be one more back like this. Yes. But that makes sense actually. So there are separate static mesh actors that just reference the same asset, right? So if I have a just same way as pulling in a like this lantern here that I made in Blender. Like, this is a static mesh actor that just references a static mesh asset that we have here. So if I just open up that, there we go. If you make something with KubeGrid or anything in modeling mode to begin with, actually, it works the same way. It just creates a static mesh actor that references the static mesh that you're making. But if you didn't just duplicate that actor around, it duplicates the actor, but the reference is still to the same asset. And if you change the assets, it's going to change it everywhere. You can, if you go into modeling mode, there is a thing here somewhere. I always forget where it is. Probably in attributes. No, in bake. Not in bake. In mesh, maybe. Model. It's not a model. Surely it's not in deform right now. Here, duplicate. If you go into Xform and duplicate, it makes a new mesh asset for the one that you're working on. So if you have, I'm not going to do it with this actually, because this is an asset that I'm straight up using. But if we have like modeling mode, and if I put in like a box here, we will accept that. Bullet group added. We'll just like pull some things out a little bit, and then we'll push pull this, and we'll, I don't know, scale this down a little bit, something like this. And I then copy this over. If I change something about this now as well, like push pull, it's going to be updating both. But if I go back into Xform and I say duplicate, I think that will, yeah, so accept. You will see that it now references two distinctly separate mesh assets. So now if I go in here, back to polygroup edit, and I say, actually, I want to like, fucking, I don't know, inset this and then push pull this in. I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing with any of this. It's only going to update the newly duplicated one. That's just a little quirk of how static mesh actors themselves work. Nothing too much to do about that, sadly, I don't think. Why are you like this? Where even is your gizmo? What? Okay, sure. Where's everybody's? Oh, I had. No, I still don't see a gizmo. Where is my gizmo? Supposed to have a 3D gizmo here. What the fuck? Oh, I'm still in modeling mode, that's why. Look, sometimes I'm just an idiot. Sometimes I feel smart, but those are the exception, very much not the rule. But it is a little bit bothersome to have to go through and like duplicate meshes like that, especially if you're like not aware that it does that. So like I 1000% get it. Let's actually make this hallway a little longer. Why do you suddenly do that? I don't know. Sure. Probably was just fucked to begin with and I didn't see it. Okay. Yeah, I think we're going to, just to keep things consistent for my own sanity, move everything once we get to these levels down to match up with the lower level that we have here now. Because it'll make more sense in my head that way. And if I ever do like a big render overview of the entire thing, for whatever reason, it'll be nice that everything actually like links up. So far you missed my rationality about making this thing shaped like this instead of shapes like this, which I would argue that, yeah, this is a lot more interestingly shaped than just a T shape. It still is just a T shape, don't get me wrong. Like, you enter through here, and then you like walk down some stairs, and then you have the choice between walking down some more stairs or just going to here. Effectively, gameplay wise, that's the exact same thing. It's just, I don't know, this feels more interesting. So that is already hooked up. I think I hooked up pretty much all the doors in this anyway. But yeah, that does mean that this quote-unquote level is now done as far as blockout goes. So I guess that technically means that we have to test it, doesn't it? I also should really commit all the changes I've made over the last like 2 weeks, because I haven't made any. Oh, I don't even have the sound on my headphones. Well, you can hear like a sad echoing of those sounds. I also can load a different save file for this. Hold on. And have the music play over my headphones. One of these, combat trial. There we go. Now we should be going up, not further down. And then we'll go further down, but in the other level. Is this too loud? You don't even... Okay, it still doesn't even pick up the audio. Okay. Let me figure that out in a moment, because I do kind of want the audio to work. Man, the the collision for the staircase just isn't it, is it? Anyway, so yeah, you walk down, and then you have the choice between walking down more or walking down that way. And again, this is all there is to it. This just has a little bit of implication of, hey, something important's probably down here. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, thinking about it now, because what that's going to do is it's going to lead you to this level, which is in dire need of redesign as well. And that then in turn leads you to this hallway, which will lead you... Well, actually, that does lead you to one of the keys. But if you keep doing the same thing, and we'll probably just, I don't know, do this whole level as well, now I think about it. But that'll lead you to this level, and with the same logic through here to this level. This door is supposed to be behind here, to be very clear. It's very subtle. But if you really look closely at this screen, you might see the idea that there's some kind of boss representing death behind this. I don't know. Is it too subtle, guys? Is it too subtle? Should I make it more obvious? Anyway, so yeah, for now this door's just hanging out here for easy access for testing purposes. It's gonna be back here. Yo, what's up? Is this game multiplayer? No, very much not. Like, not even a little bit. And it's likely never going to get like implementations for multiplayer because that would require a lot of code rewriting at this point. I already hate myself enough. So it's very much just a single player thing. And I think there's, especially in these like modern days, there's a distinct lack of games that just commit to being good single player games, and I don't know if my game is going to be a good single player game, but it's going to be a single player game, and if I have any luck, it'll be a good one. I personally don't play too much multiplayer stuff as well, so it's kind of like difficult to make stuff that you don't care about. Because if you make stuff that you don't care about, you should be working at EA. And then you can make the shit quality stuff that they do. So yeah, that's mostly why, honestly. It's because it's more troublesome to code, it's more troublesome to test, and I just don't care for multiplayer. Okay, with that, I think I said that the next one, maybe let's just make the run up to this thing a little bit longer, because it seems like maybe it could be. But then we'll go back to an actual like level that we have to like do design stuff for. I know, crazy concept. Because right now we're literally just building like a Minecraft house. Pretty much. Which again, it's really difficult not to just go in and feel like I should put torches up here to prevent like zombies from spawning or anything, but I won't because I don't have torches. I do have skull lanterns. So for now, I think that place is done and we should be moving on to this one. So the idea of this one is that it is a little bit of like a maze that you have to walk through. There's not actually any maze parts to it, because it's just a hallway that twists and turns with some like obstacles in it. But then there's also this route here that you can reach through another optional door that on the one hand goes into a optional area or like a different entry to the red color dungeon. Every dungeon is color themed in the game, for those who don't know. But this area also allows you to like look over the, don't mind the fact that there's like some major terrain here. But this area will also allow you to look over the little dungeon area of it all, and just feels a little like as an overview. I made this place where you can jump down to the beginning. This is stupid because at any point you can just jump off. So even if I just wanted you to be able to jump off, like just jump off here. Why does there need to be a fucking chimney here? On the topic of single player games, could always let people mod in multiplayer, and if it's broken, it's not your fault. The Bethesda way. Just don't finish your game and hope that the community does shit for you. Multiplayer isn't just not gonna work with the way a lot of the code works. Like a lot of the code just, well, what it would end up doing is the second player just wouldn't be able to accomplish pretty much anything. Because one of the nice things about making a single player game is you have very easy ways to access the player character. As soon as you start making a multiplayer game, Well, get player character gets a local player character, right? So, might be something to that. But also, there's so many other issues as well. Because I store some things in assets, which is not what you're supposed to do, but it works, so I do it. I do some things through like the game instance, which is local only. So if the second player tries to do that, it would need to like communicate that to the server. And if people want to like take my code apart and make it multiplayer compatible, fucking be my guest. But it's gonna be painful to do, so I don't recommend it because I'm not gonna do it. Anyway, this is the next thing that I think we're going to be working on. So that is 1.7. No, that is 1.5 balcony. So I guess let's just like remove the roof here. And we're gonna make this area a little bit bigger as well, I feel. Yeah, I think that's a good idea to make this area a little bit bigger in some ways. And we also need to think a little bit about this area. But this area already has, like, it's called stair step. So this area already has a thing of you going up. So that actually makes sense that it would connect up to this a little bit more as well. Because we're going down here. And then to reach a higher level here, we'll take a look at that next, I think. Because these two do connect up like that a little weirdly. Yeah, let's also get rid of like everything as far as like the enemies go here, because all the enemies that are here aren't functional anyway. At the moment, because I've changed so much of their code that they probably are bugged beyond belief. This one is also going to be an absolute hell to re-animate, I think. So let's just get rid of the zappy movement level sequence. If we want to do that thing, we'll just... Hello, can you please? Thank you. We'll just redo it from scratch. This was all there just for proof of concept, honestly. So it's like not that bad that I have to remove it now. Are you using Blueprint or C++ and why? I'm using both. I use C++ for the way I like to explain it, and actually the way that the Unreal documentation itself also talks about it, which makes me feel good because I came up with it independently, is that I use C++ for programming and C or Blueprint for scripting for the most part. There's exceptions to that. I do some actual like programming based stuff in Blueprint as well. And the difference between the two of those, let's get rid of this too. The difference between those two is like programming is writing instructions for a system and scripting is writing instructions for a moment. So like everything that is systematic, I do in C++, where I write the functions that I then use in Blueprint, and sometimes I group some things together for easier work and easier access inside Blueprint to then use, right? We can use this as a bit of a template for now, I'd say. So an example that what the fuck? Why did I copy that over? I'll go to an example in a moment. Hold on. First, I want to make sure that this is placed in a spot that makes like a little bit of sense at least. There we go. Why is there still a skull here? Fuck off. Because I literally did record a video about this thing that should be going up in the next couple of weeks, sometimes I believe. Because it is an interesting topic to talk about. I have that video will go much deeper into all this. than I will do right now. But for instance, we have, I think, in characters, no. Enemies, no, it isn't characters actually, because it isn't player. My project organization is so shit. So chaotic. Okay, there we go. Basic sword attack. So here we have some things like increase enemy counter and destroy enemy and reset time dilation. All these things are like C++ functions that I wrote myself. So reset time dilation, when I call it, it takes in the timers are reset. And it does some C++ stuff. So it makes a timer, it makes a timer delegate. From that, it binds function set time dilation back to 1, and then it sets that with the time until reset. That's something that I wrote in C++, a function that is like very easily, very often reusable on a lot of different things. And I can call that then in Blueprint when I'm deciding like, okay, this moment, this needs to happen. The actual what needs to happen is written in C++. Same thing here, like destroy enemy. It has a on death broadcast, which is just like an event dispatcher. That if anything is like subscribed to that, it'll do its thing. And then that calls the kill actor function. And kill actor just does like some stuff. It sets the closest enemy on the player, which is just a value that keeps track of whatever enemy is closest to null, because the thing you just killed surely is the closest to you. And if it is not, it will be refreshed the next frame anyway. It sets the player's lock-on to being false, because if you're locked onto something and it dies, of course you're gonna need to get rid of that lock-on. It then removes the enemy from any potential like spawners that I have. Sometimes enemies are linked to enemy spawners. They don't just exist in the world, but a spawner spawns them in. If that is the case, and it has a reference to a spawner, it removes itself from that list. And then it also runs enemy defeated, which is a function on the base enemy class that just plays the death animation and does some other stuff. Somewhere in here it also, I think, spawns an experience orb. I don't know where it does that, but somewhere in my code it also will do that. Yeah, so this is maybe not the greatest example because this is like a quite involved blueprint ability. But this is mostly there isn't much like logic to this. This is just mostly do this thing and do this thing and then do this thing. So it just like activates the ability, commits the ability, gets character, gets a weapon reference. Then it checks whether or not the static mesh for the thing is already visible. If it is not, it will set it to show, which itself also, I believe, is... Oh, that actually is a blueprint thing with a blueprint interface. So there you go. It will clear a timer handler for the combo timer because we're doing a new attack. Same thing with the weapon visibility timer. The weapon will disappear after a certain amount of time when it is not used. Whenever we do an attack, it just clears that and resets it. So this is just a lot of like singular things that it does in a row. And then here with the play montage and wait, it does like divert a little bit into like two different branches at some point, like here. So there is a little bit more to this blueprint than just do this and then do this, then do this. There's a little bit of logic to it, but not too much. For the most part, if it is code that is going to be reused in a lot of different places, I write it in C++. And only in like the last step of the process where I'm actually implementing and this is how it's going to interact in the moment in the world is what Blueprint does for me. That's usually the divide I end up taking. A healthy portion of spaghetti. Spaghetti can be pretty good for you if you don't eat it too much. Like there's all the carbs, but like tomato sauce, unless you put a lot of sugar in it, is actually like relatively healthy, right? So that's what I tell myself anyway. If you make a good tomato sauce, it's literally like all that you really need for a good tomato sauce is tomatoes, onion, garlic, and then some like oregano. And then you've got a tomato sauce. There's nothing unhealthy about any of that. Like all of those ingredients are good for you. You can add a little bit of sugar to make it like taste a little bit better, but like I oftentimes just don't. That still tastes good. I don't really like the sweetness in a lot of like, if you end up adding too much sugar, you just end up making ketchup. And that can be nice, but I don't know. I don't mind a tomato sauce that lacks sweetness. The tomatoes themselves, if you use good tomatoes, have plenty of sweetness to them. Why the fuck did I just start randomly turning this into a cooking stream? I don't know. Yeah, let's make this a little bit bigger, something like that. I guess because just putting down walls isn't that interesting to talk about. I guess that's why I started talking about tomato sauce. Along with spaghetti. I like Italian food, okay? I really do. There is something magical to tomato sauce, though. Because it's, like, impossible to fuck up. Well, you can burn it, I suppose, if you put it on too high heat. But aside from that, it's impossible to fuck up. You just put things on, like, low heat and just, like, let them become soft. You chop them up a little bit to make that process go by a bit quicker. And then you fucking blend them up until, like, one smooth paste. And that's all there is to it. Frankly, like, making tomato sauce is just making tomato soup with less water. That's kind of it. My blueprints are also spaghetti all the time, no organization whatsoever. That's kind of the downside to doing a lot of your stuff in C++, is that you end up caring less about making your blueprints organized. If you look at my inventory system, right? The Patreon download files, they took like a week longer to get uploaded after the course was done initially, because I was like, I cannot possibly ask people to pay for this. I need to go through and add at least like comment boxes and straighten things out a little bit. So I did, because again, if people are going to be paying money for it, it should be at least halfway intelligible. But it wasn't a great time looking at it before that. Anyway, so now that we have this general shape of a box, let's start making the general snapping. Let's start making the like balcony bit of it. Can be pretty like 800 is pretty good, I'd say. I had spaghetti 2 days ago and I cannot have it again so soon, but I'm hungry for it. I am so sorry. I had a burger with bacon today and some fries. I really wanted to order a burger, and then I was like, but you know what? If I'm going to order a burger, it's going to be like 20 bucks. And I still have one in the fridge. And that's like $0 because I already paid for it. So I probably should just like cook instead of ordering food. Because like ordering food, like it's not good, right? Not good for your health. That's not good for your bank account. Nothing good comes of that. It's good for your taste buds, but that lasts like all of 20 minutes and then there's just shame. Like, once you're done eating and have that like instant gratification, there's just all that's left is shame that you spend so much money on something that is actively less good for your health. At least that's how it works for me. Doesn't mean that I never order delivery though. I still do. I just every damn time, man. We can actually just like, if we make these the exact same height, we can make the balcony also like walkable on the walls, and then we can make the walls maybe a little bit like thicker as well. Oh, that's kind of nice. Hey, what are you doing? I am doing basic level design, I guess. Fridays are my order out days. That's actually a pretty good compromise. I tend to order out like once a month. So it's not even that bad. But I get the urge to do it a lot more than once a month. Luckily, I have some amount of self-control and discipline. I did kind of order a way too expensive GPU more or less on a whim last week, though. So maybe I should shut up. So yeah, we have like this. How are we going to do this, right? Let's think about this a little bit more. Because I think... Let's see, how much did we move this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 1,000 units from the outside. So this should be... That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm trying to make this a little bit more maze-like than it was initially. You're doing way better than me. Well, I don't know if you said that before or after me bitching about like ordering that GPU, but like once a month is pretty decent, I would say, yeah. Like for what game? It's a hack and slash action RPG, which is the most like non-descriptive thing since like action adventure game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know. It's kind of like too wide, isn't it? I don't like the idea that this is a little less wide. Like 200 units less wide, that actually kind of fits for this, I feel. So what I like, the inspiration for this area, I should point out initially, and it's kind of what I'm trying to keep in mind as well, is this. I'll show you a picture because I don't have like a save file ready for it, I don't think. But anybody who's played Kingdom Hearts will know this fucking place, the Hollow Bastion library. It's going to be nowhere near as involved with like all the bookcases moving around and stuff like that. But what I really do like is that you spend some time down here figuring stuff out, and then you go up here, and then suddenly you have that overview, and these things become almost like platforms to jump over. And the place that used to be such a headache to get through suddenly is kind of just like a non-issue. The degraded to being simply platforms instead of obstacles. And that's kind of the vibe that I'm trying to go for here. But on a smaller scale. As with so many other things. I'm thinking that we do just need more room, man. We probably like could do with moving this back like another 1,000 units. Fucking let's do 2,000 units. Let's go Absolutely insane. Just make this a lot bigger than it needs to be. And you know what? We're not going to make these things connected. What we're going to do, what we are going to do, is we're going to make those walls actual platforming. So if you fall down, you are just fucked. This is an optional entrance anyway. If you can't make the jumps across these walls, that's your fucking problem. I'm fucking becoming the Joker. Is that how the memes work with the kids these days? I don't know. I feel like the becoming the Joker meme is like actually ancient at this point anyway. I don't keep up with meme culture. I don't fuck with that like at all. Like believe it or not, I'm not 13. I know it's hard to believe because I definitely act like it sometimes. Man, I actually managed to make that. Wow. Okay. That just lines up perfectly. That was not. I did not think that would. Um. I mean, of course, that was intentional. Like, I knew that exactly placing it there, rotating it around, it placed perfectly into where it needed to be. And that's just like, that's how good I am, realistically, right? That's just how amazing I am at literally everything in life. All that said, though, I just realized, and this is not necessarily a bad thing, but if you just like go around and enter through this door, it's going to be ridiculously easy to enter through here. Oh, but I guess that doesn't actually matter that much, does it? Because this is just part of like the first little circle here. So if you enter through there, but that does. Yeah, if you can enter through here, you've already gone through all this, then all the way through this and back. So like, yes, you can skip this, but you've done literally the entirety of the rest of the dungeon at that point, almost. So I feel like that's fine. Yeah, I feel like that's fine. We can probably live with that. At this point, I'm just putting down walls kind of randomly and hoping that at some point I will like be enlightened and figure out what the fuck I'm doing here. Because at the moment, I definitely do not know what the fuck I'm doing here. But I feel like at some point I might. I don't think that's quite it. If we're gonna do that, this needs to be. Oh, if we're gonna do that, this needs to be at least like over here, right? To make a little bit more room. This might be like very claustrophobic to walk through. I'm kind of constructing this maze from two directions, and I don't know if that's a good thing to do or a bad thing to do. I feel like it could kind of work either way. Oh, that is just infuriating, the fact that these don't line up. Um, Let me fix that. Now they do line up, I think. And it's a dead end. Get fucked. I'm not just saying this to be lazy. Well, partly I am. But no, never mind. I was going to say, is there something to the idea that there is this open space here where you have maybe some opportunity for actual combat to happen instead of it being a maze? But I think the idea that this is a little bit of a maze that you're making your way through, and there will need to be actual obstacles in it, of course. But the fact that you're making your way through a bit of an actual maze does probably just need to be a maze. Just to like keep up a little bit of gameplay variety is what I'm thinking. Well, yeah, that doesn't work that way, does it? You could put a bunch of pillars in the middle. For the platforming from place to place, that actually would work. Because at the moment, you kind of can just walk over there. Once you get to here. So what we actually probably should do is... Ooh, that's a good fucking point. We probably should move this a little bit more over here. Which opens up... yeah, so then we... Ooh, this is more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, so then we do that, which creates two dead ends here, side by side. Oh, but that then connects this back up. That's just a fucking walking path. We don't want that. We don't want that. I guess that necessarily has to happen at some point if you want it to be only one path from here to there, though, right? The idea that you can just walk over the walls without having to jump too much. In order to create, like, distinct islands of walls, there's going to need to be openings connecting up the actual pathways. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, maybe it's fine if both of these... Like, this is the first choice you make, I suppose. So if both of those end up going to pretty much the same place here, I guess that's fine. But then we need this to be less obvious, because the moment you enter this, you're going to be able to see this. So maybe I place this over there instead. Looking the solution to this maze in my brain for when I need to solve it in the future. I mean, walking through it hopefully is going to be a little like more intimidating, but again, I think that... Does it still need to be bigger? It still needs to be bigger, doesn't it? Let's open up the red dungeon. Yeah, like physically probably shouldn't be that much bigger than it is right now. Maybe a little bit. We can take these two walls and like move them a little bit more over here. And believe it or not, we're going to be moving these a little bit more over here still then. This might actually end up being one of the biggest rooms that we have in the game so far, if this keeps up. Maze difficulty ramp. This maze level already is like, I think 4 times the size almost where we started. I think we started with something like this. And now we've added like this much to it. So that's like, I think that's actually about 3 times the size that originally was added onto it. So yeah, that does make for 4 times the size. I'm good at math, as the last stream was very, very clear in showing that I am very good at math. And I don't mind the fact that these are pretty much next to each other, because if you make it to this, you've gone through hell and back already, so it's kind of fine. And that leaves the opportunity to make this area, leave this open. I like the idea that this is going to be like an area where we have a little bit more open space to fight. And then we actually probably should close this down as well. I'm not going to move this door though, for 2 reasons. Number 1, spatial consistency. And number 2, because that gives me a little bit of room to play with over here that might allow for a little bit more like disorienting design. Which obviously, disorienting your player, generally not seen as a good thing. But we're making a maze, so that's kind of the point of what we're doing. What's the thing you are using to grey box or easier scale and move around normal objects? What do you mean? Oh, you mean this little like box size thing? Because that's just a thing from this plugin. Or you can make something that uses that same like principle yourself, of course. But the plugin is called Blockout Tools. Its marketplace icon is something akin to like, I think it's a red sphere and then like a green cone and a blue block or something like that. This definitely should be around the corner so that it's a surprise when you run into it. But yeah, if you make something like a geometry scripts, you can do this kind of stuff yourself. All that a gizmo like this is, it's actually fairly easy to make something that does that. If I just like random blueprint, let's see. Do I have like this electric bar thing, for instance, right? I'm not going to use it for this, but if I make a variable and I call this whatever, I'm just going to call this gizmo for ease of access, and I make it a vector. I can make this, if it's instance editable, I can say show 3D widget. And then when I show 3D widget, like when I put it in the world, it'll have it as a widget that I can just drag around. And it will update the corresponding value of that variable. And then, of course, these specific actors are programmed to then make the boxes that they drive bigger or smaller or whatever based on that vector value. Like that's what it actually is doing under the hood. Does that even line up? It does, okay. Let's make a dead end here as well, I feel. I'm just kind of doing stuff at this point, hoping that'll maybe make it a little bit longer. Hoping that'll end up being kind of good. If I'm being honest, I feel like that's how most of the mazes in like puzzle books are made as well. It's just somebody like drawing in squiggles and then like, okay, and now let's open up here something in here and then we can go through it. I kind of feel like that's how most of that stuff works. But I might be like significantly underselling people's skill in crafting puzzles when I say that. I wanted to move this way. Doing stuff can be good. Hopefully it will be. I don't know, it's starting to feel pretty good, doesn't it? Hopefully. I think we're going the right direction with this. Maybe we pull this back a little bit. I think the trick is to, at any given point, make the player feel like they have to choose. So if we just come in here and we immediately see that this is a dead end, like why does this even exist, right? But if we just make this like a tiny little bit of a corner, suddenly now this is a dead end that can catch a player out because they can walk over here, and only when they round this corner, at least with the camera, they'll be able to see, oh, this actually doesn't fucking go anywhere. So that's kind of the idea that I'm trying to adhere to at this point, and I feel like it might be kind of working. Or not. I swear to God, if people get like super lost in this thing, it's going to be an issue. Keep in mind, I also have to kind of make sure that this works as a platforming challenge to go through this entire thing. So I have to make sure that some of these walls don't connect and are like islands of them in and of themselves. Maze creators are professional trollers. Kind of, yeah. Kinda. I wouldn't disagree. Oh, this is annoying. It's actually not that big of a deal. Never mind. I do want these things to like somewhat line up. After all. And they don't. Yeah. That feels pretty good. Now something needs to happen here still. So maybe we can connect that up like that. Actually, if we do it the other way around, that's one of the things that I can actually do. To prevent connecting paths up, I can use the walls as a path. Because in a normal maze, the idea that you can get from here to here, if it's one contiguous piece, the entire walls are also one continuous piece. That includes the outer walls. But I can use this to my advantage here, because you can't walk on the outer walls in this level. So if I connect something up to the outer wall, it still goes to the goal of making a maze from point A to B, but it doesn't connect up these individual islands of walls. I don't know if that's the most obvious thing ever that I just discovered. It kind of feels like it is. I really should introduce some type of collectible for my game. Because if I'm like starting to build mazes, frankly, I might just no, because I'm not doing puzzles anymore for the keys. I was gonna say I might just put the key for the puzzle room in here, because this is literally a maze. But I'm not doing the puzzle ID anymore because I suck at making puzzles, as is evident for anybody watching this, I'm sure. You know, just to make it a little like more confusing, what I could also do is I could just literally put a wall in the middle of this that is like double size. And when you're in here, suddenly this doesn't feel as much like a room anymore. It's just some connected up hallways. I am such a genius. I still like the idea that maybe I can place some enemies down there instead. But we'll see. I also don't hate this. Okay, I think we're almost there. I think we are almost there indeed. Yeah, it's going pretty quickly. I can't help but feel that as you get deeper into the maze, it gets a lot more complex on this side than it is on this side. Which might be a good thing, but it definitely wasn't intentional. But looking at it like one big wall, one big wall. Look at this fucking spider web over here. This will definitely be more interesting to go through, though. And this is one of those rooms that, yes, every room is bi-directional because it is like open world in a certain way. But the intentional direction for this room is going from here to here. You can go the other way, but that doesn't really provide you with anything. Because if you've made it to this middle room, like you're halfway through the dungeon, and if you want to go back through this maze, number one, it's probably easier to make your way up here and then go through there. But you probably just want to go back through here anyway. That said, this room, along with the other hallway now, might actually make it more like time consuming to go back through that way. So if you make it up here and just like platform your way through back to this wall, that might be actually the faster way to go through. You know what? I'll leave that to the speedrunners to figure out what is actually faster. It's not my fucking problem. Yeah, so then we... Huh. Actually, I've got an idea. That's kind of fine doing it that way. Pull this out a little bit more. I mean, this very obviously doesn't go anywhere, but that's... I think that's fine. I kind of want this to be the path. So I guess... we do it like this. I wonder, does anything happen if you rotate this gizmo? Oh, you can't even. Oh, yeah, you can. Nothing happens because it doesn't have a transform. It just has a like position. Is that it? Is that the maze? I feel like this might be the maze. It is a maze. I'm not even gonna go there. Let's make everything purple. Oh, there's gonna be a lot of things to select to make purple here. A lot. And then we need to check whether or not the doors are properly connected, because I feel like last time we ran into an issue where one of the doors didn't load in the next level properly or something like that. Or like the next level didn't have like the right flag to load in the player on or whatever. I didn't select these two clearly. Okay, that's what purple. And then we boom. Have a roof. Believe it or not, this is only the first part of the issue, because after we've done all this, we need to still fill stuff up here, because a maze is fun if you're doing it as a maze, but this is still an action RPG, so we're gonna need to like put in some enemies here, put in some like light platforming challenges, that kind of stuff. So that's gonna be a thing that we need to do. Let's see, we can probably just enter through the central hub. That's probably the fastest way to get there. That's not the weapon that I wanted. I don't even need a weapon right now, actually. What the hell am I talking about? So we'll go in this direction. I must say, we're making good progress today. We made 2 staircases and 1 maze. Can we make it? We can make it. That's actually pretty close. There probably should be some more like visual and sound eventually indication that that is about to happen. Can we please like not kill me? That would be ideal. There we go. Okay, so we're in the maze, and the maze definitely like the holes on them are a lot wider than I thought they would be. I thought it was going to be a lot like more tight and claustrophobic. I already don't know the right direction. I think it's this way. Right? We go here. No, fuck! I literally made this myself. Where do I go? Oh no. Oh no, this is bad. Where do I go? No, not that way. So I think that this maze passes the I need to like get lost in a test. I think this is the way we go. I think this is the way we go, right? Is it? Is it not? Fuck! I think it just got turned around. At least you have some like landmarks even in this block out, because you can see that door up there. Oh, this is the... This is... No, this is not the room where I just put a wall in the middle. Where am I? Where the fuck? Where the fuck even is everything? So as far as... Okay, this is the room where there's just one wall in the middle, right? That's this room. Like if I just round this corner, yeah, but this is... But it's not even a double-sized wall, so I don't... It's not too easy. That's the thing that I was worried about. Is it... Fuck! I was worried about it being too easy. Okay, hold on. This is the purple door, and then I want to go through here. No. Through there. And I make like a little U-turn here, and there we are. Okay, I made it through. But especially if you're like throwing in some distractions in the form of a couple of enemies and some stuff to do, They'll at least like the platforming little bits will give you a tiny bit of like landmark context. When there is some more art in it, there will be a little bit more landmark context maybe in places. And what I kind of want to do for these is a part of the aesthetic of this dungeon is very much inspired by like the Paris catacombs, right? Where you walk under the city of Paris and like the walls are just filled with bones and skulls. So I have this blueprint already made that I can make like these stacks of skulls with. What if I use these? I don't know if it's going to perform well if I use them that much, but they are instanced skulls. Like they're instanced meshes. So it should be kind of fine. What if I use these as the walls in here? So wherever you go, you're just surrounded by like towering skulls, like up high. I think that would be pretty fucking metal. How many units tall are the walls? That's a good question. 1400s. And the character himself is about 200 tall, I believe. And the wonderful thing about using this blueprint for all that, which I might as well have done it with those actually, but now that we have that, I'll hold off on that for a moment longer. Like if we instance skull tower, do I have it somewhere in here? I'll just do it there. The wonderful thing about these is I also have these skull lanterns for lighting purposes and like art purposes. And of course, these can very easily just like slot in with these towers, right? So if I probably need to make them a little bit smaller. If I just like put one of them in here, it really fits in. And it provides a little bit of lighting. And it's spooky as fuck. So I think that's also a good use of my resources. Again, I don't know how it's going to perform, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Yeah, I think this is good for now. So let's start thinking about some places to put in some obstacles. Because I'm gonna be real, this electric ball thing, I think I'm going to make a quick version that just goes like up and down, or something like that. Or maybe I'll just give it a vector direction as well. Just one that goes back and forth. So that I can just put those into the levels a little bit easier. So I can just like create a child blueprint class. There's electric bar, auto move. And then let's see. Add in a timeline. Move. Play. Play reverse once. Actually, once finished, we flip, flop. We reverse, play from start. On begin play, we just play. We'll implement the speed thing in a moment. This is just going to flow track 1 second long. 1 second long, please. What the hell's wrong with you? Seriously, what? There we go. Add key at 0, 0, and add a key at 1, 1. It's all very basic shit. Maybe we should add some interpolation to that as well, just to have like a little bit more curvature at the top and bottom. And then we can do this on a local offset. If we wanted to. That's a fantastic question. Do I want to do this as a local offset? It's probably the easiest way to do it, right? Actually, I have an idea. Yeah, we're going to do this as a local offset. So, oh, that's going to be tricky. So what we're going to do is we're going to loop between the two. So we're going to calculate the beginning and the end point at begin play, and then the timeline is just going to loop between the two of them. So that way we can all calculate this like in local space and then apply it in world space, I think. Because the idea that I had is if we add an arrow component, we can like add in... Let's just move this up a little bit. Well, we don't even need to do... Yeah, we don't even need to do everything on local space now that I think about it. Because this arrow will be pointing in the direction that this thing will be moving. So you can see that this has the rotation of... but now it has a rotation of 90 degrees in the... Oh, but if we get the forward vector, it will be up. Why does it now suddenly have a rotation of 180 in both? The fuck? Now it has a rotation of 360. Forward vector is still going to be forward vector. Right, so if we get this, get forward vector, it will get the forward vector in world space. So if we get actor location, and we multiply this by a variable for distance to travel, and we make that a float. Let's set the default value to like 1000. And we can hook that up like that. So we get the actor location. That will be promoted to variable star location. We'll do that. And then we'll promote the variable again, and location. And the end location will be the start location plus the forward vector multiplied by distance. So realistically, coming back to the C++ and a blueprint thing, this is something that I usually would do in C++, but since that parent export already existed with like all of the like visual stuff set up in Blueprint, I'm just doing this in Blueprint now. but this will set up the start and end location. So then we'll play, and the update will set actor location to lerp. Can I just lerp? Can I lerp to vectors? I should be able to, right? Lerp for vectors. We'll lerp between the start and the end location based on the alpha. And that should do that. So that's a little bit like for things that just need to like move up and down or diagonally or like horizontally or whatever. This works well enough. And then I guess we can give it a starting offset as well. So like set time. That does what I think. Sets the new playback position of the time to use. So if we make that start offset float, and that will have a slider, like a value of 0 to 1. We'll make it a slider, just so it's easy to work with. And then one last thing will be the duration. How long does it take? Which will set play rate. And that will be just a division. So that will be 1 divided by duration. Come on. Duration, there we go. And this doesn't, I guess we can set a value range of 0 so that it doesn't go into the negative. So yeah, now it will take, if it's 5 seconds, it will be 1 divided by 5, so that's 0.2. So the play rate will be 0.2, so it'll be 20% of the original play rate. The timeline itself takes 1 second, so if it goes at 20% the speed, it'll take 5 seconds, which is what we gave in as the duration. So that's why that works, for anybody wondering. So I think that that's kind of everything there is to it. Let's test. Where can I most easily test this? Let's go just in this level, I guess. Central hub. This one. Central hub. I don't care. Start offset 0, duration, let's say 10, distance, I don't know why the default value is 600, sure. Let's copy one over, do the same thing, but the start offset will be 0.5. And let's copy over one more with a start offset of 1. And as you can see, this technically is a slider now, but it doesn't really like being slid, so fuck me, I guess. So let's test this first, and then, well, actually, now that we're doing this anyway, we might as well do a couple that also, if I just take this, I rotate this around like that. These should now be moving horizontally, is the idea. Still doesn't fully allow me to like animate them in more complex ways, but for simple movement, this will be easier. Earlier this week, that was a question, why I don't have that. Well, now I do. So it seems to be working. Yep, that definitely seems to be working. The first and the last are on exact opposite cycles. This one is in the middle of it. These ones move in a different direction. Let's just for shits and giggles check out what happens if I try to make them move in a diagonal direction. Should be actually straight up no problem. Not that I can see myself doing that too much, but I just want to see. Yeah, so they also just work fine going diagonally. They're a little weird about it. It seems like they're traveling further when they travel diagonally. Does that make sense? It's probably just my imagination. Because it's like more chaotic movement. Yeah, no, I don't think that they move that much further. Well, they probably do move further actually, because if we have this thing's forward vector this way up would be 0, 0, 1. But now this wouldn't be 1 anymore. But this would be 0, like 0.5, 0.5 or something like that. Like the forward vector should always be normalized anyway, right? Where the fuck even... Did I close it already? Oh, it's over here. Like, get forward vector should always be normalized. Like, get forward vector unit and world space. I think that should always be normalized as is. But let's just... to be sure, normalize it. See if that does everything differently. Because I think there definitely is a chance that it returns a vector that is not normalized, maybe? This seems to behave effectively the same. No! Am I going crazy? Are they going less high? I think they're going just as high now. I think it doesn't make a difference because it already gives you a normalized vector. So let's just get rid of this because it's a technically unnecessary calculation. So yeah, these work. That was the whole point of those. Now let's go back to the maze and throw a couple of those in. First, set the context back to the level that we're working on. And then let's hide the roof so that I can actually see what's going on. This first bit, I think we're just going to keep safe because it's just let people get used to the idea that they're in a maze. Then we have a decision here, and I need to start placing some stuff down. So, should I make the proper path to the end like more filled with obstacles? Because there's two like ways to think about this, right? You can think if I put down heavy obstacles in paths that lead to a dead end anyway, that might be frustrating because you're like jumping through hoops, maybe literally, only to find out that you're like in a dead end, and then you have to jump through those same hoops backward in order to get back on the right path. On the other hand, if I make all the right paths and decisions more heavily like fortified with like stuff, it's gonna be really obvious where you have to go, right? Because you just go in the place that looks the most difficult to go through. And I don't think that's a particularly great idea. So that's kind of an interesting question. Where the fuck? Oh dear. Okay. Oh, this is just wonderful. Do we have surface snapping? Yeah, but it doesn't really do the rotation. Okay. Well, I guess we'll just kind of eyeball it. Well, we don't have to, because we can just copy the transform from this thing. I'm a genius. And then, if we turn snapping back on, it's just 90 degrees. And then this is just a local space. Fantastic. You can turn this thing around. Oh, that's the distance value. So did I just not expose? Did I just not expose? I just didn't expose distance to travel. Fair enough. Oh, that's. I want to move the entire actor, pretty please. Let's set that to 6 seconds, maybe. And then every 500 units. Does that seem fair? That seems pretty fair. So start position offset 0.25, 0.5, and 1. And I guess all of them do need to be a little higher up maybe, because this is just a bit too low. Making them clip through the floor like that. Oh, and then we need all of these to be rotated. Oh, when I move these, does that... I think... Oh, no, it doesn't. Okay. I was going to say, when I move the actor as a whole, does it reset the orientation of that second skull? Because that's going to be very annoying if that's the case, but doesn't seem to be. If we're specifically just testing stuff like this, I might as well just go... It's called balcony. Probably should rename it to maze. It's not going to have the skylight in it, but we can just temporarily place a skylight in and then remove it when we're done testing. That's fine. Hello, skylights. Oh, it doesn't have a... there we go. Didn't have a cube map for lighting purposes. Because what we can do now, since it's not a streaming level that is streamed in, we can just play from here and be... Or maybe we cannot do that. Why can we not do that? Is it because the game mode override? Might be because of the game mode override. I haven't really tested playing like this before. Yeah, this might not work. Because this thing doesn't have the... Yeah, default pawn class is set to none for it, because otherwise it spawns a second pawn in. That's the issue. Okay, for now, I guess we just can change this to BP third person character. We need to change a couple of things back eventually anyway. Why the fuck is that in there as well? Huh? That's weird. Let's see. Can we now play from here? We fucking can. Okay. But that's the wrong end of the maze. So let's pretend like we come in through here. We're like, la 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 la. Like, at least one of these will be an issue. And oh my god, I'm so annoyed. There's a dead end. Now I have to go through back here again. This is way too fucking easy. Okay, hold on. These need to be faster and only like move 500 units and do it over a period of like 4 seconds. Yeah, that seems a little bit more like it, because now I actually have to like either wait or like jump over the... Oh my god! They are perfectly aligned to just ruin your day. That is fantastic. That is actually really funny. That is just look at this. That is fucking... I guess if you fuck up on one of them, you're getting sent back to the beginning. So that works out. Not really, actually, because you can like mid-air adjust when you get fucked up. Like, you can do this and just like go over it like that. Again, we're not making a platform here. This is an action RPG, so the fact that you can cheese some of the platforming stuff, like, it's not gonna keep me awake at night if people do that. But it really is kind of funny that it just... I love that. That is fantastic. Okay, let's keep that in because that's funny. So that's one thing that we did. Now we need to like do a lot more other stuff as well. A couple of these paths are also just going to simply have enemies in them. Like, specifically, like if we go down here. Actually, I need to remember that we can just put enemies in through this. Yeah, it's still an issue that I haven't fixed. What the fuck? Yeah, sphere radius. Make that smaller so that it doesn't trigger from the other side of either of these walls. Just a little smaller, maybe. Really annoying how it does that. Let's just see if there's any other places where we would like some enemies to spawn in. Like, not all of them need to be these Reapers, because it's going to be really annoying if you just try to ignore them and they are literally everywhere. So let's just put them in a couple of places, and the other enemies are just going to be more basic enemies. I also just need to design some more enemies, to be fair. I'm putting one here on this, like, very annoying that it works like that. On this like little cross section is probably a nice place for an enemy to live. And then we can probably put down some normal ghosts in some other places as well. So like if we go through like here. It's really annoying that it counts that as part of the collision. It's also really annoying because I have no idea what I would even Google in order to get rid of that. Okay, sure, that kind of does what I needed to do. Now, both of these are going to need to have significantly smaller sphere radii. Radiuses? Radii? What is it? What's proper English there? 700. Move them a little bit over, move them a little bit over. Oh yeah, that's definitely an issue. You know what? Where did they go? What happened? Why are they all the way over here? Get the fuck back. I mean, I was going to put them one after the other, so actually ended up kind of doing what I wanted. Not quite in the way that I had in mind. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So for these, what I'm thinking is if we take like one of these, we'll have to make the distance a little bit lower. That's fine because I made this blueprint and it works like that. You can kind of figure out the distance here for how long this little piece of wool is, because it should be a multiple of 100. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About 700. You'll be moving that away for about 700 units. And then we'll copy this over. And this hallway is actually 100 units longer. That is kind of infuriating now that I see that, but we're going to stick with it. And I'm assuming that this is also, yeah, 700, right? So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. So also be 700 in that way. And then we just copy over one more. And this one will be moving up and down. Why does that? Why does that? Why? Why does that do what it do? But yeah, so that's like 1, 2, 3, 400. Oh no, actually this one is going to go up and down, isn't it? So 500 is probably good for this one. Distance needs to be a bunch shorter though. Actually, let's set the duration for this to 3 as well, because it's going to be like bouncing up and down a little bit more. Am I just throwing down stuff to throw down stuff at this point? Yes. I fucking dare you to make an issue out of it. Look, I'm no fucking Jigsaw, okay? I don't know how to make a death maze. But I'm trying. And I think so far, we've got some stuff going. I might need to just think of some more mechanics to fill in here, right? Maybe I can add in some stompers. We made those last time for a reason. And that reason is to use them. We can maybe even give those... no, actually, maybe not. I was going to say, maybe we can even give those the same, like, meshes as the walls, so that it feels like the walls are moving. We still could do that. Maybe should. It'd be fun. No, because you don't want to have somebody like walk up to this, be like, oh, that's a wall, move on, and not realize that this is like the path to the end. Because that would suck if that happened to you. So probably don't do that. I don't even know how this will interface with the whole platforming side of things, if I'm being real with you. I guess you can jump on these as well. Probably wouldn't recommend it. You know, we could make something more like program based for these stompers as well. Maybe even should. Because it's the same basic idea as this. It just has a couple of delay nodes in between the up and the down. And the up will probably be a little bit slower. Should we do that? I'm gonna say we might as well. Because it'll just be like stomper, auto move. It's already got everything in it that we need. Like we can just... and we can even introduce the whole arrow thing as well, so that we can make it move sideways. If we, no, because that doesn't really work with the... No, it does. Yeah. I was gonna say that doesn't really work with the whole like damage box that this thing has under here. We can also just rotate that and move it around and do stuff with that, so it's like actually not a problem. So let's also do the whole arrow thing. For this one, I'll put the arrow... That's a good question. Where will I put the arrow? So we can just put it like slightly under it by default. That's fine. And we can just kind of copy this stuff over, right? So if we copy over the move... Oh, can we not copy that over that way? That would be kind of annoying. Apparently we cannot. Maybe we can just copy it over as a node. Let's see if we can do that. It just adds it in as a timeline. Sure. Yeah, so once it is finished, I guess we just add in a couple more values here. First, let's add in variable, variable, variable. There's actually going to be a different variable, I think, but sure. This would just be timeline instead of timeline move. Hello there, welcome to the stream. And then the distance to travel. Right, so what we do is we... this also needs to be the timeline. So all that we do here is we set the duration. No, not the duration. We set the start offset, the distance to travel as exposed. And then instead of setting the duration directly as exposed, what we'll do is we'll make two new floats. And that is... no, it's probably fine to do that as just one. It's just going to be a lower value. So this will be the duration of how long it takes to stomp down, and then going back up will just like take, let's say, 2.5 times as long. So we will just set the duration initially for this, and then we will... It's a good question. What will we do for that? And then at the very end here, what we'll do is we'll set play rate in both of these scenarios to, like if we reverse, we set it to duration times, let's do 2.5. And if we do it play from start, we just set it to duration directly. That's not what I wanted to do. And then we will just delay in both cases for a bit. There's another reason that Blueprint can be nice is the ability to just like add in these latent nodes that just like delay you for a bit. And we can just say time stuck at bottom and then time stuck at top or something like that. Time stuck at top. Honestly, like, I know that I'm saying like a lot, I'm getting tired. This will be the time stuck at top because it will... No, other way around. So when it plays through, it does all this, and then at A, it'll be at the... Yes. So its resting position will be the down position for all these. That makes sense to me. So this will be how long it sticks around at the bottom. Then it will reverse. Then it goes through this flip-flop again. Then it will be at the top, wait for how long it needs to wait at the top, and then play from start. So yeah, what I was going to say before I interrupted myself so rudely is the amount of time that we spend adjusting this little script to now work with this is probably less than it would have taken to like animate 3 of these things. And now we have it as values. So there is a good value to... let's just set both of these to a default of 2 seconds. There's a good value to scripting these things out instead of animating them by hand every single time. We also want the capability of just animating them by hand sometimes. Let's say the distance to travel by default will also be like 500 was a good one. Start offset will be 0. Duration by default, let's say a lower number, definitely. So like 0.5. That's kind of... Yeah, I think that's pretty much all there is to it. So stomp or auto move. We can copy over that rotation. Set it to 50. Okay, what I was doing is modeling a thing to go in here. At least for a block out. And that'll be the mesh we use instead. Boom. Oh, sure. Hold on. Just want to move the mesh. There we... why is the mesh not wide enough? I guess we can just polygroup edit that in here. It's straight up not really an issue. It's kind of weird though, right? Because it definitely seemed to be wide enough a moment ago. Sure. Let's move the entire thing down a little bit, and then we'll change the box like this, like that, and then maybe make it a little bit thinner as well. And I guess let's see if it works. One, two. 1, 2. Yeah, that's pretty much... I mean, that's pretty much what we are looking for. Pretty much does what it needs to do. Still does damage me as well. If I stand under it, that is. Don't... I'm trying to test something. Can you please fuck off? It does not appear to be damaging. Oh, it does. Never mind. It damages when you go up. Which actually, it shouldn't. Right? So, when it starts to reverse, set generates overlap events to false, it really should only be damaging you when you have it go down. Which is another reason to be doing this through a script. Wait, the fuck happened there? Why did it revert back to its previous mesh? Is it because I compiled this? What the fuck? Wait, what? No, seriously, why does it do that? Construction script for the parent doesn't seem to set anything. Why? I guess because this has a default value? Oh god, I don't know. I have no idea what mesh I used there a moment ago. It just plays it in a folder full of weird meshes that I don't know. We'll make a new one. But before we make a new one, let's just see if... Okay, that's maybe not the greatest one to use. Maybe not that one either. Oh, it's fucking tiny. Well, it's just about seeing if this resets it back to nothing. Which it does. What kind of bullshit is this? Am I missing something? Why does it revert it back to the default value when I compile the class? That doesn't seem like that should be how that works. Let's Control Z a little bit. When it doesn't have a value given, sure. When I change the default value, by all means. Oh, now it doesn't fucking do it. Maybe you just need to save the class itself. Maybe that changes something. I don't know, man. If now it doesn't do it anymore. Sure. Fucking... I don't know why. It'll be fine. Finish your C++ course. I liked it. I needed it. Doing the whole playlist. Ability system next. I hope that you're going to be able to take good advantage of the ability system, because it is really quite cool and really quite headache inducing at times. It's both. I like it, it's worth it, but man, gonna be a headache. Where even is the... Oh, that makes sense actually. We have this there, this there. Look, I'm not crazy. That is not the same mesh. if I select this, the mesh that I just made, I mean, it's the same mesh, clearly, but oh, the pivot point is weird. Why is that pivot point so weird? The fuck? Because it is rotated. If I just rotate this around and that around like that, there we go. Now it's the fucking right way up. Still a little offset, but nothing we can't fix. Okay, with all that out of the way, if I now go back in here and I compile this, it doesn't screw me up anymore. Okay, no idea why that was happening a moment ago, but we've beaten the odds. Let's make this go wide, 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 and thin, 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 thin. That away. And I guess we might as well like put this arrow up there so that it's easy from like a level designing perspective to see. Because now the idea would be that maybe this one every 1,000 units instead of every 500. We copy one more. We copy one more. I don't know actually about that last one. Oh yeah, definitely not that last one. Let's just take all three of them and move them a couple hundred units back. Now we put this at offset 0.5 and this at offset 1. Let's just see what that is like. That'll spawn you in. Let me go back up. Body. Go pal. Why are you going back up? Start offsets. Stuck at bottom time. That's 2 seconds. That's 2 seconds. Oh. That'll be why. Let's try again. Play from here. Allows you to go back up, and then this. Wait a moment. Why do you? They should not be in sync, right? That's offset of. Oh, they both have an offset. Oh, I set the duration to 0.5 for that one. No, that's an offset of 1. I guess because it is a cycle that goes back up and down. No, that still shouldn't work that way. Should it? I guess. No. Oh, the start offset is in time, and the entire duration of this thing is okay. So the start offset should just be. Should that be a percentage? No, that is a percentage. Is that a? I don't know. Oh, that's a weird place to start that. Let's just observe this from a third person perspective, which we already were, but like even more third person. This is a start offset of 0, this is a start offset of 0.2, and this has a start offset of 0.4. Aside from that, they're the exact same thing. The start offsets sets the new time on the timeline, and the timeline is just a 0 to 1 thing. So that's where it starts. Is it this delay nodes that fuck with that a little bit? But it shouldn't, right? Because if it starts at 0.5, like they all start at their own position and they all have the same time that they stick around at the bottom and the top. So that shouldn't matter. So why? So why? Okay, hold on. What we're going to do is we're just going to check this out in simulation mode. Ooh, they start. Do they all start at? They all start at the top for some reason. Why would they all start at the top? That doesn't make sense either. That doesn't make sense either. Why do they all start at the top? Like even this one, which has a start offset of 0, starts at the top. Which doesn't make sense, because what ends up happening is we set a play rate to something, then we play from the time where we set it, which will be 0. So this should start from 0 to 1. And then once it is finished, there's no reason for that thing to start at the top. Literally none. Yes, literally none. It's kind of weird. Oh, but they don't. It was just a little bit of a moment where they hang. So why does this work the way it does? Because these two are effectively in sync. I want to set this one to, let's set this one to 0.33 and this one to 0.66. Does that make a noticeable difference between all three of them? Still not. How are these two in sync if they're offset by 0.33? Like, that doesn't make sense, right? Am I missing something obvious? Obviously, another way to make these things not sync up very well is just to like start off set them all at 0 and just give them slightly different durations. Like give this one a 0.4 duration and like make this like 1.8 and this like 2.1. That'll make them go out of sync. So I guess there's that. Like the duration for this one will be 0.35, 1.7, and 1.9. Like, this will make them go out of sync over time. Which I guess works, but it doesn't fix the fact that I don't understand why the start offset for these doesn't work, while for these ones it seems to work perfectly. So it's got to be something to do with the weighting up at the top and the bottom that's fucking with it. I just can't really figure out the logic behind that all. I guess this will do. So starting to fill these things up well enough. Which is to say we have, I think, about like a quarter of this thing filled up. Maybe a little bit more. Actually, let's say about half at this point is filled up with at least some stuff. If we put down a little something here, and a little something here, and this can be relatively peaceful, I would say. Let's leave modeling mode. I'm gonna just put down a little Reaper, because it's just what I do when I don't know what to do. Actually, I have an idea for this one, because I have the idea to like put a like a coffin back here. I already have that coffin. Actually, do I have? I don't have it as an actor, only as a static mesh. Well, this is a great way of doing things. I'm going to need to like redo a lot of this coffin, I feel, as a static mesh. Putting this thing down here with one of these fuckers. It's kind of like I am guarding this coffin, which I feel like that kind of works. At least there's something to it with some art in it as well. We have like a sphere. Radius for this should probably be a little smaller because I don't want it to trigger from there. 100. It can probably be like 600. Just barely. Just move it a little bit along. That's probably fine. So when you're around this corner, you're like, hey, something interesting to look at, and then this thing is gonna just ruin your day. Because that's just how I do. Still definitely need something. And I guess it only really works if you potentially run into one of these elsewhere that might like reward you with something. So let's put another one of let's move this on world space because it's just easier to deal. Fucking hell. Do I still have surface snapping? I still have surface snapping on. That's why it's acting. Oh, that might also be why putting down those Reapers is being painful. Let's actually put another one down in a moment and see if it still is an issue. Yep. There we go. And then for this one, I'm thinking like if we put down a experience orb in front of it. And then give this, I don't know, 500 experience or something. That'll need to scale as the game progresses in difficulty, so I'll probably, like, the XP orbs, I'll need to make a child object that, like, multiplies the XP that it gives, based on, like, a boss progression counter as well. I have a boss progression counters already, so I just need to, like, hook into that. Not gonna be too big a deal. So yeah, the idea would be that this just like spawns in when you come close enough. It's of course not going to just exist in there. But then the idea is like, oh, coffin, oh, we get free experience. And then you see another one here and you're like, hey, I know what this does, but it doesn't. Well, it kind of does because it spawns in an enemy that you have to kill. And this should only ever spawn once, so we probably should put in like an event flag for that and stuff. But we'll get to that at some point later in the future. For now, let's just be diabolical for a moment. And we're going to... You might be thinking, this doesn't seem that diabolical. This seems kind of sensible. Oh, you're even putting them very far apart. That's very nice of you. That's actually like almost considerate. And now you're thinking, huh, you're actually commenting on all these things, which means that you're definitely like planning to change something about all this to make it absolutely fucking insane. And to you, I say, you are so clever. And now that you see me do this, you're like, oh, that's your game, is it? And yes, it is. I don't know, this might be too much. It probably is too much, to be honest with you, but it's kind of funny as well. Does this peek through? It doesn't even peek through. I'm going to just kind of use the same thing here, at least for now. So yeah, let's offset this one by like 0.5. I feel like this is maybe taking things a little too far. But let's just see. Oh, what the... Oh, it places me on the roof. Let's try again. There we go. So yeah, it's this one, right? So we can just kind of like, oh my goodness, is it doing it the wrong? It's doing it the wrong way, fucking around, isn't it? It's not even that difficult. I'm gonna be real with you. Like, there's a little trickiness to it, and there's a little stress-inducing moment there where you're like, oh, I'm walking under it. Please don't laser me down. But it's maybe a little unfair if you don't know that there's also another one on the other side of this wall. But let's be real. If you have a laser thing going up and down and then one of these like stomping walls, I feel like it's not unrealistic to expect there's another one on the other side. Maybe, hopefully, I don't know. So this is when time stuck at the top, generate overlap event, play from start. No, this definitely should disable the overlap events when it goes up, right? Because it goes from... Let me try again. I might have just caught it in at like a weird time or a weird angle. That definitely damages you. Does it damage you? Like, it doesn't damage you when it goes down. I don't see the logic behind this, but I guess if I change them around, it will fix that, maybe. Let's see. When you go up, you don't damage me. When you go down, it hurts like hell, and it still does like the double take because fuck me, I guess. So yeah, there's a little bit of a challenge there to get a little bit of a reward here. And then once you expect a reward, this thing is just going to slap you in the face. Because that's the kind of person I am, apparently. So there's a little bit going on here as well. We're starting to fill this thing out. I think what we'll do is we'll finish filling this thing out next week on Tuesday when I stream again. Because it's getting a little late and I'm getting a little tired. That's honestly like all there is to it at this point. And it'll give me a couple of days to think about maybe potentially other mechanics to code in as well, which will be tools that we can reuse at other points in the game, of course. So That'll be nice to have. And maybe I'll just throw in a bunch of enemies here and call it a day. I don't know. But we made quite a lot of progress today. Like we made everything that we see here, which is honestly quite a lot. And we made that one little hallway with 2 staircases. This is probably going to be one of the more involved levels that we make for this entire thing. So I'm not displeased. Let's remove the skylight actually. I'm not displeased with this amount of progress. It's like quite cool amount of progress we made. And if we just set this to cinematic, this should maybe, well, not cinematic actually, to epic. This is supposed to actually emit lights that allows us to see stuff, but I guess the auto exposure is compensating so much that it doesn't actually show you. This does make light. Why does that not make light then? Huh. Because it is still an emissive material. I guess because it's additive? Hold on. Just out of curiosity, I want to check this out. Because this uses the default ribbon material, which I think is additive. Just for shits and giggles, we set this to opaque for a moment. Will it then... Now it actually emits light into the world. So, okay. Additive materials don't emit light into the world, but opaque ones do. I must say, I'm probably going to make a custom ribbon renderer then that is opaque. Because this looks dope as hell. This looks really quite cool. If we, I think it'll call like laser or something. Electric bar auto move. Like if we take all of these and also take like the color from all these. Like that's pretty cool, right? I like... Part of the reason I'm using Lumen is to come across stuff like this. Like this is really cool. It'll only work on the higher lighting settings, but man, will it look awesome. Anyway, so that's going to be it for now. And next time we'll be back on Tuesday. There might not be a stream next Thursday. Just as a heads up, I'm trying to like plan some things with friends, and Thursday is one of the one of the potential options. I just like read a little bit of a text that I got. So if I end up meeting up with friends on Thursday, I'll probably maybe stream on either Friday or Saturday instead. I will still do the 2 streams, just not be on Thursday, maybe. Or maybe we'll pick a different day and it'll be on Thursday anyway. I don't know. Just giving the people who tune in every week a little bit of a heads up so that they know. For everybody who just jumps in, you'll see when I'm live. But on Tuesday, I'll be live either way, and we'll continue on in this maze, and then probably do the stair step thing next, the room that connects up to this door. That'll be fun. So yeah, it's been a good one. Thanks everybody for joining in, and see you later.